how insulin and glucagon are regulated. Traditional wisdom recognizes that insulin secretion is stimulated while glucose level is high, and glucagon secretion is stimulated while glucose level is low. However, obese people and type 2 diabetics are also high both in insulin level and glucagon level, no matter after meal or between meals. The traditional wisdom is right only as long as healthy human body is concerned. Question is, what parameter has gone awry with obese people? Let's take one step back and do some brain work. Our subject is all about glucose, which is our fuel in nature. Recognizing the nature of glucose as a fuel, why in the world our medical scientists have not included oxygen as an intrinsic factor while doing research on glucose regulation? My question is, what if oxygen delivery rate to pancreas is lower than normal or under hypoxia? Are both insulin and glucagon would still be secreted as if totally unaffected by hypoxia, as in recognized by traditional Western? I don't think so. If you observe obese people, you may find one point in common. They are less energetic, prone to falling in sleep, without any feature that can be connected to oxygen richness. If any factor going awry results in the hyperinsulinemia and hyperglucagonemia in obese people, the first thing we should suspect is hypoxia, which coincidentally causes death of islet B cells, resulting in diabetes mellitus. I have been implicating hypoxia is the root cause for obesity and type 2 diabetes. However, as everyone knows, that obesity and type 2 diabetes are widespread nowadays. So is hypoxia widespread as well? Conventional perception may echo the existence of widespread hypoxia, but there seems no scientific evidence testifying it. For example, how can you explain plenty of obese people who are anemia-free, which implicates oxygen-rich blood? Exactly. That probably is the reason why hypoxia has been widely ignored worldwide for up to now. Anemia-free implicates that blood carries a sufficient amount of oxygen, but that doesn't necessarily mean sufficient amount of oxygen is delivered to cells. The step of oxygen delivery takes place only inside the capillary vessel, which is dictated by additional mechanism, which is totally ignored by clinical practice and medical research worldwide. Next, let's turn to another biggest blunder in medical history. Hypoxia in contemporary world is prevalent for far more than medical science recognizes. Hypoxia is the scenario where cells can't get enough oxygen, which is caused by blood delivering oxygen at a rate lower than normal. Note, oxygen carrying capacity is different from oxygen delivery rate. If anemia-free, your blood most likely carries sufficient amount of oxygen. However, it doesn't necessarily mean cells in your body readily get sufficient amount of oxygen accordingly. Almost 100% of oxygen is carried by the red blood cells, RBC for short. RBCs unload oxygen only while they are inside the capillary vessel and accomplish their mission of oxygen delivery. The problem is that the diameter of RBC is larger than the lumen diameter of a capillary How can larger RBC enter inside the smaller tube of a capillary? The answer is that RBC fully deforms itself and squeezes into capillary, like a fully deflated balloon, which can be squeezed to any small form at any small size, like this. This balloon has a significantly large diameter, and this tube is far smaller in diameter. With a deformation, this balloon enters the smaller tube and exits at the other end. By the same mechanism, RBCs get inside the capillary. Once inside, RBC has large surface area contacted with the capillary wall, creating friction force, which impedes movement of RBC, creating sufficient time for RBC to unload oxygen. Problem is, what if RBC is rigid, like this balloon, which is less flexible? See, it can't squeeze inside the tube at all. Similarly, the rigid RBCs can't enter the capillary and have no chance at all unloading oxygen. Take a look at this image. This vessel is called arteriole. This branch, thoroughfare, and these branches, capillaries. Blood flows in this direction, some of which is sunk into this thoroughfare. And those RBCs with good flexibility in the blood is forced to squeeze inside the capillary by blood pressure. And once inside the capillary, oxygen is released almost spontaneously. And those rigid RBCs, without any chance getting inside the capillary, together with oxygen, flow directly to venule and get back to the heart. That is like a fully loaded truck arriving at the destination and without unloading cargo, simply returning to the starting point. Even worse, these rigid RBCs keep flowing in their circulation ceaselessly, but never unload the oxygen they carry. When the number of rigid RBCs is significant, your body suffers from hypoxia. Therefore, remember, anemia-free doesn't guarantee hypoxia-free. Since all kinetic energy comes from our heart, the more number of rigid RBCs in our blood, the more burden our heart takes. That's supposed to be the major reason for heart-related diseases like hypertrophy. Flexibility of RBC is totally ignored by clinical practice. Only few people in the physiology research field know it. What factors do cause RBCs rigid? Hyperglycemia, hyperlipidemia, and free radicals are three major classes of factors decreasing flexibility of RBCs. While glucose level or lipid level gets down back to normal, the flexibility of RBCs recovers on its own. But rigidity caused by free radicals remains intact, even if free radicals disappeared. Therefore, free radicals are most harmful. Exhaustion, fatigue, overindulgence, mental stress, harmful food, lack of sleep, hypoxia, and so on cause production of free radicals. Note, hypoxia itself promotes production of free radicals. Accordingly, all factors causing RBCs rigid, including hyperglycemia and hyperlipidemia, among others, indirectly promote production of free radicals, which cause RBCs rigid, which in turn cause hypoxia. See, in present world, there are hypoxia-causing factors permeated all over in our lifestyle and the workplace. Now, I think you believe that hypoxia is rather prevalent, far more than we thought. Therefore, hypoxia is very likely the root cause for obesity and type 2 diabetes. Now we turn to regulation of insulin and glucagon, put on hypoxia perspective.